Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel Iturrate, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy. Okay, and welcome back, everybody. Lights Out Podcast. Thank you for watching. I think what are we in the top 25%, Mike? We're doing some great stuff. I don't know what it is. We're working to get to 15, top 10, something. I don't know.
Yeah, Chris, we cracked the top 25% of podcast downloads last year for Buzzsprout, which is like a major carrier of one of the largest carriers of gentrifying podcasts. So no, dude, we're doing some real big things, man. It's this last quarter we've seen a huge bump in our audience.
Well, people are finally learning what we're doing. We want to bring people in to find out how they got to where they are right now, their story, because there's some amazing stories. We got one tonight for you, or today, whenever you're watching, listening. AlexWhite. Alex, how the hell you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on. I'm kind of nervous and excited at the same time.
Don't be nervous, man. This is all fun stuff. We're talking about you. We're wanting to know about your path to get to where you are, because it's a cool one, and that's what we would like to do. Like to hear all these interesting, crazy stories and how people got from A to B. And where you're at now, but how did you get there? So I'm gonna let Mike take off at the beginning because he does all the research, and I just like to be here, listen, and chime in.
All right. So Alex, the one thing about you is everybody knows you almost died as a child, but you very rarely ever talked about the story. So why don't we start from there and kind of build out, just to kind of add context, we've got Coach Kelly Burch, who helped line this entire thing up. He's pretty vocal on a lot of our podcasts, and he has insisted we interview one of his friends who obviously we're a fan of, AlexWhite. So Alex, why don't we start from the very beginning so people can understand just the ground floor of where you came from?
All right. I guess you're talking about the accident?
Go ahead, brother.
We was actually on our way to Walt Disney World. I was around the age, I think 5 or 6. And we stopped at a roadside park along the way. And my dad was working on the vehicle, and me and my brothers was playing tag. I ended up getting thirsty, so I grabbed this gallon jug. You know how you got the flavored gallons like fruit punch or like the Red Diamond tea stuff?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we had the lemonade kind, and I grabbed the jug and I drank out of it. It turned out that my dad dumped it out to put gas in it to work on the vehicle. I didn't know that. So next thing I realized, I woke up in the hospital in a bubble. The doctor said it was a miracle that I made it through, that I drank, I guess, too much, and it burnt my vocal box to where I had a speech impediment afterwards. And that's been a challenge for most of my life.
So it fried your vocal cords. Do you remember going into like a different dimension? I mean, I don't know if you've eaten psychedelics, but you kind of go see.
Yeah, I did. So that's great. So yeah, I still remember. I seen the black and white swirls, and then I had an out of body experience. That was my first. I actually seen my dad give me CPR, and my brother he ran out of sight. I didn't know what he was doing. Later on, I found out he ran into the highway to get a car to stop to take me to the hospital. But as I was watching my dad give me CPR, there was a figure behind me. I don't know. It's like, I guess you could just tell it's like a friendly human figure that's just watching over me, I guess.
So you saw like ancient geometry and stuff like that people talk about when they eat like lots of mushrooms?
Like I said, it's just like black and white swirls, and then bam, I was out of my body watching my dad give me CPR.
Okay.
And then there's like I said, somebody that was behind me watching me. I know he was talking. I don't remember what he said, but I don't know. I guess it wasn't my time.
So this kid right here is bullied. He's in a shell, and he's got 10 fights in the UFC, and is a dude. This guy's got like the Homer Simpson effect. Like, this kid gets hit with fucking bricks, and it doesn't even affect him. Like, we're going to get into that during the course of your career. So did you get a lot of fights, or did you just kind of sit back?
So I wouldn't really call it fights. They kind of just, pushed and picked and a little bit. And other than that, just kind of just pushed it off and went my own way.
Now, Alex, real quick. I mean, I'm a firm believer. MMA is a tough sport, man. To be able to endure something like the MMA lifestyle, I mean, it's hard. So the way I always look at it, you have to have like some kind of motivating factor. And I always tell people, like, I have an anti-bully foundation. I tell people who are being bullied, I'm like, man, you have to utilize this pain and this stuff to drive you. Everybody who does great things has some pain that's making them, that drives them to do great things. Do you feel like this is something that maybe helped you? You've channeled this negative energy and made you want to be a better person. Do you think that? Have you ever thought about it like that?
Yeah, I think that was a big part because I guess with me dealing with that situation, I kind of wanted to become stronger so that way if anybody was picked on or was in trouble like how I was and how my brothers were, I'd be able to intervene and do something about it.
Good,
so I think that helped push me.
So you talked about going into a show. There's certain like benchmarks in high school that if you're a fighter, you're definitely got to check them. Usually like a fighter's kind of like the rock and roll lifestyle guy, and you don't come across as that. So was dating difficult? What about sports? Like what were you doing in high school? You said you didn't street fight, which is kind of surprising. So what were the activities that you participated in?
The only thing, so it was in high school was when I started sports. It was cross country, track, and tennis. That's yeah, I
didn't know you played tennis.
Yeah, I played tennis one year. I joined cross country and freshman year, and that was just to get out of the house. That's when like I was trying to get out of that shell a little bit, get away from the house.
No wrestling. You never thought about wrestling?
No, my school didn't have wrestling.
Where were you from?
I went to Arcadia Valley in Ironton, Missouri for third grade to sophomore year.
Okay.
So how many people are in the city that you grew up in?
In Ironton? So there's like 3 little towns that's put together. So it's like Ironton, Arcadia, and probably not like I guess just in Ironton, probably maybe 1,000.
He's not lying.
So, Chris, this is what I really enjoy. We got a guy in the middle of nowhere without an athletic background in combat sports that's got a speech impediment that takes himself away from social situations rather than getting involved in it. And he winds up in the UFC.
Well, let's hear how that happened, man. How'd that start?
100%, dude. I mean, you got to come out of your shell at some time. Where does it happen? Where does your life start to kind of change its direction?
So it changed whenever. So like I said, I went to Arcadia Valley till sophomore year, and then I moved in with my dad in Fulton, Missouri. That's about 20 minutes away from Jefferson City. And there, that I guess I pushed myself to, I guess, to get to know people, to interact with others, and I did a little bit with some of the school kids, but I really interacted more with the people that I worked with because I started at McDonald's in Fulton. started working there, and I just started hanging out with them, and I slowly just came out of my shell.
When did the fighting aspect start? How did that come to be?
So I know my cousins, my dad, it's my dad's sister's kids, that they host these like in-home boxing fights. So my dad wanted to watch, and so he took me and we watched. And then my cousins asked me if I wanted to do it, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, cause like I always watched the Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee movies. I'm a big fan, right? So I'm like, I mean, I'll give it a shot. You know, I was with family and then a couple of those guys, and so I boxed, and I actually ended up beating the guy that they put me against. And it turns out that the guy was telling his buddies I was actually a Golden Glove boxer. And I'm like, that's my first time ever boxing. But all right.
You're next.
See,
Yeah, I guess
Chris, he cleans out the family. He takes care of family business day one.
The enforcer. Hey,
I got a question though. Sorry to jump in there, but you know, we've interviewed a lot of retired fighters, and they always mention the Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee aspect and stuff. But you're a young man. I mean, when you were 14 years old, the UFC, you know, was already owned by Zuffa. So, like, when did you see your first UFC? Like, how'd that come about?
So,
oh man,
my first UFC that I watched was actually with these guys. I didn't watch the fights. I watched martial art movies, but I didn't start watching the fights till I joined the gym and then hung out with these guys a couple times.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
let me just try to piece this together. You're working at McDonald's. You're slinging fries and hash browns. And then how do you wind up over with Kelly Burch at what's the name of your gym, Kelly?
well, at the time it was Destruction MMA down in Ironton, Missouri.
So, and the gym was right next door to a McDonald's.
There it is.
That's how it happened right there.
So in between hanging out with Mayor McCheese, you wind up over at Destruction MMA. Is that where we're at?
So, so that's after high school though. I didn't meet them till after high school.
Yep.
Okay, wait, Chris, now watch this. After high school, he started training. Okay. How old were you?
I was 19.
About 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, watch this. How old were you when you made it to the UFC?
I was 24, 25.
Ooh, pretty fast.
He was.
So you never trained till you're 20, never watched the UFC till you're 20, and then you go to the. What made you go to the gym? I knew you did that boxing. You like that. You said, I'll go to the gym and try this. It's a little different. What made you walk in there?
So I wanted. So the gym aspect, I guess, because that goes back to me like wanting to stop something. If something ever happened in front of me, you know what I'm saying? I know. I guess on the street I was okay. I was decent, but you know, shit still happens in front of you, and if you can't do nothing about it, man, like I wanted to get myself to a point where I was strong enough to do something about it, and I was only down during the summer. I was only going to stay for a couple months, and after I joined the gym, I got my ass handed to me, and I'm like, I like it, and I ended up moving back down to Arcadia.
So Chris, when he got signed to the UFC, at that moment, there was only one other person younger than him on the roster.
Ooh, wow, crazy.
Yeah.
So, Kelly, when he first came to the gym, what was your first impression of him?
So I showed up to work out before we was going to practice, and at the time, this is no lie, before we got the facility built that we was training in for several years, we was literally training in a room. What was it, 10 by 12?
Yeah,
I mean,
yoga.
it was a little yoga room. But the thing was, the coach who was running the gym, he was so passionate, and he was saying, listen, just give me time, I'll have this facility built. And we all just had faith in that, and he did come through, and it was a world-class facility right there in a little chunk of Missouri, and it was unbelievable. But I come in and I open the door to the gym. I see him and another dude. It looked like a Jackie Chan movie. Like, you two was jumping and kicking, spinning. I'm like, what in the world is going on in here? And I'm like, I seen Alex, and I saw like just raw athleticism, and I don't know, that he was being so creative, and I've never seen this dude. I knew he never really trained before or fought, and here he is doing these kicks and stuff. I'm like, I assumed he had some sort of kickboxing background or maybe some taekwondo. No, he had been a part of the gym for maybe 3 days. Yeah, I was just blown away by it. I was like, and then he started practicing.
Kelly, let me ask you, if I could jump in, Kelly, let me ask you a little bit. I'm an old school guy, so Missouri, to me, we got Mike Rogers and Raleigh Delgado, Matt Hamilton. Eventually, Wade Rome was there with an ATT school. Where do those fit in your world, or are you a part of another group?
You asking me this?
Yes.
Oh, well, with Mike Rogers, I started training up north at St. Charles MMA and at Rodrigo Vahi's main school. I made the trip up there to change schools because I wanted to do gi jiu-jitsu and work my way up from that. And I knew that was the one thing missing in my game. So then I got connected to Mike Rogers. I'd competed against some of his guys before. So I knew who he was and knew their guys was very talented. So I started just training with them when I could. And they had a room full of guys who eventually 90% of them went on to fight in the big shows. So I bridged the gap between the school in Ironton to St. Louis. I was the first guy to make that transition, and I just helped kind of get our guys up there so they can get real work in and see other styles. And that's kind of how that all came together.
Cool. Thank you.
It was super competitive when we first started training there because we were the odd guys out coming up there, and Alex was sparring with the best guys in St. Louis with only 7 or 8 amateur fights, and I was seeing him putting dudes on their butts that had been in the game for 5-6 years and was fought close to 20 times. So I knew we had something. We had a golden egg on us. I knew that from the beginning.
So, in essence, you're looking at a guy with pure rage and anger from, the disabilities that he had, walk into a gym rather than go hide through drugs or alcohol or video games. He went to a gym to kind of figure it out, and he excelled. That's impressive.
Now, so a lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll ask me questions about, I started a long time ago when it was nuts. You could headbutt and do all kinds of stupid stuff. And they'd ask me, like, Chris, why'd you you choose to be a fighter? And I always tell them, I didn't choose it chose me. I sound like that's kind of similar for you. You know what I mean? It just seems like you're just born to be a fighter. That's what it sounds like. You know what I mean? So do you get that feeling like this is it's natural to you in a way?
Absolutely. I only started training just to push myself to see how far I could go. And even like to the UFC, like I wasn't trying to get in the UFC. It was just kind of one of those things like, hey, Alex, like that they're taking notice of you. Because I think it was my first manager was Charles McCarthy.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you hook up with him? He's from Florida.
Yeah. He seen my fight on Access TV. It's my first fight on Access TV against Roy Babcock. And he contacted us. And he's like, hey, man, I think I can get you, with a couple more fights, get you to right hell. All right. I guess, why not? Why not make money while doing what I want?
Okay, so let me just rewind a little bit because we're going to get there. Your first amateur fight on record is August 15th, 2008. Is that the actual first fight? Because this was kind of, you were on the bubble of the kind of the outlaw days of MMA.
I think it was in 2009, wasn't it?
Yeah, January of 2009 for sure. I have the fight footage at the house, and it was his very first fight, and from then on, I think he fought like 6 more times that year.
All right. When did you fight Tyler Humphreys? Was that your first fight ever? Here.
I don't remember.
So it's Absolute Fighting Championship. The promoter is Brad Wick. He owns that Team Pitbull or something. Was that your first fight ever?
I think it was down in Fort Leonard Wood, right?
Yes.
Was that the one in Fort Leonard Wood?
Second. What was your first fight? Yeah.
I know my first fight was in Fort Leonard Wood.
Fort Leonard was.
Yeah.
Okay, so your amateur career is pretty much not documented. How many amateur fights did you have?
I thought it was 16 because I fought in Italy, but it turns out the guy in Italy was a pro, so they put me on my pro roster. And so I guess technically it's 15.
So you have 15 amateur fights, and I think on record, there's only like 3 of them that are documented. So you were pretty active and busy. What about the amateur side? I mean, did you have like opponents smoking before the fight, like wearing jeans, like in your bout? Like, describe your amateur career.
There's this one guy. We call him Code Red.
Code Red, not too bad.
Yes. So
Code Red.
Code Red. Okay.
So it's down in Cape Girardeau. Is was it Black Coliseum?
No, it was Papa Bluff.
Oh, Papa Bluff. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I remember better.
Yeah. But we made weight, and like as soon as this guy made weight, man, like he's like, wow, just busting. And I was like, dang. And then he's like, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, yes, sir. They're drinking that Code Red. No, I don't know.
So just pounding energy drinks, getting hyped up the night before, right after weigh-ins, huh?
The guy was a stud.
He hit you a few times though.
Yeah, he did get me. He did get me one good punch. I do remember. He gave me a cauliflower L.
Okay, so here we go. Your first pro fight actually takes place in Italy. That's what you were saying. That's November 19th, 2010. Is that your first plane ride ever?
No. I flew to Chicago a couple times. I fought for Team USA, but before I fought for Team USA, I fought to get on the team.
All right, Chris Lytle. Do you know what this reeks of?
What's that?
Team USA, Chicago. That's got Bob Shirner written all over it.
Bob Shirner, yeah, some same shoes.
I'm sorry, what?
Did you fight for Bob Shirner to get on Team USA?
The name does sound familiar, but it was Rob. I know one of the main guys was Rob Zelbilski.
Okay.
Zelbilski.
All right, so what we got here is we got some TMA stuff kind of transitioning. Rob Zelbilski is actually like a kickboxing guy. Bob Shirner, both very respected people within the mixed martial arts world in its beginning days, but they would bring over like the TMA type feel. And we always thought like this whole Team USA, he'd been like trying to push this on everybody locally for about 5 years, and nobody ever traveled anywhere except like 1 year, like, well, I made Team USA. He's like, yeah, congratulations. You can say you're on Team USA for like a year, until he had his next tournament. So we all kind of looked at it locally like, man, dude, we got to stay away from this. So you actually got a trip to Italy out of it.
Yeah, I did. It was me, Austin Knight, and Jason Slattery. That's right.
What were the accommodations like? Because anything with Bob usually has got some kind of hiccups in it. Accommodations, feel, promotion. I guarantee something took place there.
Truthfully, I mean, it was legit. Like they had us the plane right there. They had us a interpreter, the hotel stay. Although that was questionable. Someone does walk in the middle of the night and like stare at, they like stared at everybody. And then one night we even heard like someone scream in the street. We were like looking at each other. We were like,
So how bad was the screams?
yeah, it's loud.
You
Like,
guys,
yeah, like someone got hostile. I don't know.
Wait. Let me just recap. So you guys are staying, is it a hotel or is it like a kind of like a hostel or Airbnb?
It's a hotel. It's
And some guy walked into your room and stared at you and then left?
yeah.
No locks on the door? What?
Truthfully, I think there was. I don't think we locked it or we picked it. I I don't remember. I remember like my coach was like, "Who is that?" What woke me up? I'm like, "What?" And then this guy's just staring at us, looking around, and like mind you, like there's like 4 or 5 people in that room, and my coach was like, "Well, if they kill us, they have." So,
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. So you get over to Italy, you fight Petro Falco. That's a big step for somebody that's only got a couple of years training. You're in a foreign country. I mean, was it big city, bright lights? Were you scared or were you able to kind of acclimate?
I mean, I was nervous. New place. I was excited. I mean, we was there for like 4 or 5 days, and I just walked around, explored, and I had a good time, I guess. You know, like I felt good to the soul just to be somewhere new, see new things, and I mean, during that time, like I just wanted to eat.
Do you feel like you performed well during that fight? I mean, a lot of times people's first big fight like that, they're kind of they don't perform well. Did you feel like you did well?
Yeah. I like I said, before the fight, we had a couple of days, so like there wasn't really no jet lag.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what this guy had stuff like 80 something shoot boxing. He had a lot of shoot boxing matches.
he was very experienced.
Which we didn't know that, but I usually just go out there, like just think of all the possibilities of what he could do to me, which, what would I do? Put myself in the situations and just go from there. It usually takes a couple hits for me to get started.
How'd the fight end up going? How did it end up?
This guy was supposed to be a stud stand-up guy, and I was beating him standing up wise. He tried taking me down, and I just choked him out real fast.
Nice.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of European listeners. We legitimately, especially like the United Kingdom, at this time, not now, because I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt, but at this time, there was a huge level difference between what was going on in Europe and South America and Central America and the United States and Brazil. Like the United States, Brazil, and Canada really were dialed in more so than our European counterparts at this time. Chris, would you agree?
Yeah, they were, in Europe, they usually had pretty good stand-up, but wrestling was non-existent. Ground was just coming along. They just hadn't put it all together yet. Japan had been good early. Brazil, South America, good. U.S., Canada was coming along. But, I mean, it took them a while to catch up because there's just lack of groundwork in wrestling. They just didn't have any concept of that kind of martial art. So just once they got that going on, that's why you got all these guys from, Dagestan and those other places that are just killed it because they have that wrestling background and it just translates easily for them. So.
Hey, Alex, so let me ask you, Mike is so uncouth. Where in Italy were you?
Livorno. It was in the oldest port city.
Okay, so it's Italy, it's the mafia. Was there anybody like, feeding you food that made you sick, or any funny business or anything like that, bothering you for leaning for the opponent? These guys, there's got to be something in there. Somebody had to push you around.
Well, they had a guy staring at their hotel room.
They actually loved us. Like all the little I guess bakery stores were like playing American music. Like we asked the interpreter to like, hey, ask them if they know like what it's saying, if they understand. They don't. They just like the tune of it. But I mean, I had no one really like threaten us, or I mean, I didn't really even see any mafia type people there. Truthfully, I know well, one side of the walk, like on the road, like it's made out of marble, well, which was pretty cool. And they also had a McDonald's there, which I had to try out.
Now try out like you didn't try out, you ate it. You didn't try out like what's the cashier.
It was good.
That's funny. So you make Team USA, which is shocking, and you go to Italy. And when do you start to understand that this fight thing might be pretty serious in your life?
Truthfully, whenever I turned pro, I only trained once a day. I know Joe and other guys like tried to get me to come in more often to do some CrossFit, strength conditioning, and I was like, eh. And then after I turned pro, I think that's when I kind of took it more seriously. And that's when I started to do the CrossFit, strength conditioning, and all that. Besides just training once.
Now, real quick, going back a bit, what did you think the first time that you actually watched the UFC with these guys? You were like, man, this is something I want to do. Do you think, man, this is neat? Or did you just think, hey, this is another fight? What did you think the first time you saw it? Was it something you wanted to be part of right away?
So the first time watching UFC was probably at Joe's.
Yeah. Together.
Yeah, it was at Joe's. He invited everybody from the gym over. They did a little cookout. We watched it, and I mean,
he didn't know a single fighter though.
Yeah,
he didn't know anyone.
But I still don't know half of everyone either now, but
it's unbelievable.
Do you remember which UFC it was? Who was the main event?
It was Chuck and Rashad Evans.
What was that?
Chris, that's the guy you wager against, the one that knows nobody.
So I feel like now, like I feel like it's in my favor to where like I don't psych myself out. You know?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay, did you actually have a fight first, or did you watch a UFC first?
I fought first.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No lie. I asked him if he knew Chuck Liddell, and he didn't know who he was. Well, you knew Chuck, but you didn't know anybody else, really. That's what it was. It's crazy.
It reminds me when I helped get Matt Mitrione on that reality show, The Ultimate Fighter 10, like the first time with heavyweights, I think, or second time, I don't know. But he'd been a football player, played in the NFL. He didn't know any fighters. So he gets on the show, and they're talking about, like, Randy Couture, and he's like, who's that? And they're, like, laughing, and they're like, and he's like, he really had no idea. I don't know if they thought he was joking or what, but he had no idea who anybody was hardly. It was hilarious. Very similar.
That's good. I can't imagine like talking to somebody. I know you've never seen the UFC before, but there's a cage that you're going to fight in. It's like, it's a lot to take in, it really is.
I don't know, man. Like, well, what I tell people now is why watch it when you can be about it,
That's fair. That's fair. So you're running through people. CJ Hunter out of St. Charles MMA. So you're fighting like legit people from legit gyms. Beat him. You fight Greg Wilson at Fight Me MMA. So Chris, Fight Me MMA was like this NHRA race car guy that would kind of like throw a party where everybody could come for free, and he would pay for the fights, and they would have like 10, 12,000 people there.
Wow.
So to fight on the Fight Me cards, it only lasted a few events. was pretty special. So what was it like fighting CJ Hunter and Greg Wilson on those cards with that many people there?
I mean, again, it's nerve-wracking. I guess, like, as soon as I get in the ring, I'm still nervous. I guess I stopped getting nervous after getting hit a couple of times. And that's when I'm like, oh, okay, this is for real. All right, I need to be moving my head.
Yeah.
But I guess just fighting for it. I mean, it's pretty cool, I guess. I know the Fight Me one did like a magazine thing. Like, I had to sign a couple autographs, and like that's kind of surreal, like, to me, because, you know, like, people asking me for autograph. I was like, all right, I'm just me, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's wild. So the Fight Me was actually a pretty big deal. I think there were some lawsuits. I think it's Nico Price was one of the fighters that was involved. Something happened where lawsuits took place and the promotion ended. And then you fight Cage Championships 38 against Mark Nguyen. So Mark Nguyen, tough Filipino guy.
Yeah.
He throws heavy punches, but he's got cardio issues.
Yeah, he's got a hard head too. Man, that guy. I think he actually came in a little bit heavy on that one. He ended up giving like a small percentage over, which
What was his excuse though? What did he say?
I don't remember.
From what I remember, the dude purposely missed weight because he wanted to be able to absorb Alex's punches.
That's a stupid thing to say. I mean, I wouldn't say that out loud. That's dumb. I mean, you'd have to be really overweight to make that big of a difference. I mean, hey, I'd take the free money. Cool.
I think it was like only like, what, 6-7 pounds. It wasn't that big of a difference, but yeah.
That's a big weight miss.
It's a big difference.
That's a huge weight miss.
So
Not in Missouri.
Fair enough. The thing with Mark Nguyen is that he throws hard punches. And Alex, like, if you watch the fight on YouTube, the amount of like hits that Alex took, like it there was no doubt that this guy's got a head filled with cement. Like, there's no friggin' crack in Alex, like in knocking him out.
He's got the Homer Simpson syndrome.
Yes, he does. Did you ever get dazed in that fight, Alex?
I think it was one of those I guess like lightning bolts, you know, like, oh, okay, yeah.
White
I can take 12 more of those, you know. I'll be all right. But it's a funny story because whenever I first started to train, Joe had me go with this boxer guy.
I was gonna bring this up.
Okay.
Go ahead, man. You're on it, dude.
So it's Josh.
It was Jason Singleton's son.
Yeah, no, Josh. James Singleton. He's been boxing for a couple of years.
The kid had 200 amateur fights.
Jeez.
So, Joe had me go with him, and like, so we're going, and like, I just dropped my hands downhill, and like, he's like, bow, just teeing off on me, and Joe stopped it. He's like, what are you doing? Get your hands up. I'm like, all right. So he goes to do it again. I throw my hands back down for him to hit me again. And Joe's like, dude, what are you doing? You got to bring your hands up. I'm like, I just wanted to see how it felt. He's like, see how it felt. And I was like, to get hit. He's like, what? he probably thought there was a screw loose in me, but
I did.
I did a little Cobra Kai thing, you know, get the hesitation out the way.
I thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
I did.
So I think from that point on, like, I wasn't scared to get hit.
That helps.
Yeah. I got, like you said, I got that Homer Simpson thing going on.
Wear him out.
Well, Mark, you armbarred Mark Nguyen, and like I said, it's a fun fight to watch. Like, that crowd was hot. Are you a big ticket seller at this point?
No.
I disagree, but
You think?
He has a pretty good fan base through St. Louis and through our area for sure. He's very supported and loved by a lot of people. He just doesn't give himself credit.
But Kelly, that's now. How about then?
So
There was a pop in the audience.
He was gaining serious ground for an amateur, in my opinion. He was very exciting to watch. He wasn't a boring wrestler like myself. He went out there and scrapped, and he had a lot of people watching him. Just being honest.
So, Chris, in terms of like kind of understanding where fighters are at, you look at their opponent's record. Sometimes they're a little bit beat up, but then you kind of look at the quality of opponents. His next opponent fought Chase Beebe, one of the first 135-pound world champions for the WEC. Yep. And although he lost, Chase Beebe really had a hard time with him. And that was Javon Wright, the Wolfman out of Modern Combat Systems. So, like, as big of a test as Mark Nguyen was, I honestly thought Javon Wright was somebody that was kind of right a couple steps ahead of him.
Yeah, I know we was on 00 at that time.
Yeah,
I know. What's his name? Jay Powell. I know he trained with us, and I know he ended up fighting him and lost. So I know, like, the whole group was kind of getting together to get me ready for this fight, telling me the pros and cons, what I should do and what I shouldn't. So I feel like entering that fight, I was well prepared for it.
So Rumble Time Promotions is your next bout. You fought for promoter Jim Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's just full disclosure here, like, Alex, these are kind of like shoot interviews, and what we do is, and I don't have to do this with you, but other people, we kind of load them with questions to get them talking, and then we hit them with stuff that they're not supposed to answer, and then they do. So Jim, like, I keep a running list of people that have issues with fighters, and it doesn't mean they're all accurate, but like kind of promoters that maybe owe people money, and Jim Jenkins is absolutely on that list. Did you have issues with pay in regards to him?
I think there's only one time that he said he'd get me, and it was a week later.
Okay.
He did get me a week later. So I
trusted
him. I want to say, like, I fought for him a couple times, and like after that, it was like he asked me that one time. I'm like, yeah, that's fine, because I guess he was having financial problems or something.
Hey, dude, as long as you got your money, that's all that matters. I'll honor that. Even if it's a week late, you got your cash.
He probably recognized that he had a legit fighter on here who could sell tickets and people like, so he'll pay him.
Yeah.
Right. So you beat Charles Spain with a KO. He refused. He went like Kid Cookies. I remember seeing him fight live a couple times. So you got through him, and you're undefeated up until this point, where you take on, dude, we had this local kid. He became a journeyman later on, but at this time he wasn't. He went by ADD, Adam Ward, attention deficit disorder. So I gave him that nickname because he fought for me so many times, big ticket seller. April 5th, 2013, Adam Ward at this point was a savage. Like, he was legit.
I would say that's one of my toughest fights. He was actually the first one to split my head.
Really?
Yeah.
So Adam was an accomplished boxer, went to Gilbert Grappling with Joey Gilbert, did well. I think he peaked and kind of refused to kind of take a back seat, maybe step back and retire a little bit. But at this time, he was tough. So it was a split decision. I remember him coming home from that fight pretty pissed off, him thinking he won.
Yeah, so I agree. It could have went either way. I mean, it really could have. I know there's some people that's like, man, I think he might have had it. And other people is like, it was close, but I think truthfully you came out on top. I mean, I've watched it, and truthfully, it could have. It could have went to him. It could have went to me, man. Like, I'm not a judge. I don't want to be put in that position. You know what I'm saying? But I know he's one of my toughest fights, and he actually fought my training partner, Eric Govan, after that.
He did.
Okay. Did you break your hand in that fight?
Not that fight, no.
Oh, I thought you did.
Not the Adam Ward fight.
My mistake.
I got a little like mystery question. What would you have done if that promoter had said to you, "All right, we need 5 more minutes out of you guys"?
Oh, I had cardio for days on that time. I was like, let's do it.
He did. Too.
Would you have beaten him?
To me, I feel like the longer that I go, the better I get.
Yeah. That's that cross country in you.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It really is. It really is. You know, you're trained yourself to kind of push through. So what Miguel
I want to say, like, during that time, I'm a slow starter. Like, I'm slow. My head's still, you know, like I haven't got that movement yet. I want to say about after a minute and a half to 2 minutes, that's when I'm starting to warm up.
Do you ever think about, like, in the back trying to really get a good sweat going and break it down, like trying to get started earlier, or does that not work for you?
Dude, it does not work. Even with this guy, he called me for one of my UFC fights, and we're like, all right, we're going to hit this hard. I mean, like, punch me, you know, like, get me ready. Still, I don't know what it is. I'm just a slow starter.
We fought full 3 rounds back there. And he's lighting me up. I mean, he was going at it. I'm like, he's ready. He still started slow. I was like, dang.
That's just how it is sometimes, man. Yeah.
Well, you know, Alex, great wine needs age. So you just, you know, need a little time. That's all. You guys are about to see something fantastic. But the punches you take up until the time you start the car and put it in drive, bro, it's bonkers. Like, I think it actually helps you because your opponents are like, man, I just cracked this dude with everything I got, and he's like, just stumbled back. He's still pushing forward. Like, it's got to be a weird feeling if you're on the other side.
Yeah, I think that the only one that actually got a KO, the only one that really KO'd me was Lucas Martins, and even with that last punch, like I thought I was fine, you know, like, because we were trading punches, and I went to take a step back to spring off to go into another punch, and that back foot just went numb on me, and that's when I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, I took a lot of damage during that fight, but I guess that was my first time actually coming to a realization of, you know, I can only take so many hits.
Okay. Well, to get to that fight, Lex McMahon he starts Titan FC. He's got some funding, obviously some family funding, and he's actually doing some pretty cool things. And, you know, I don't know Lex, I've never met him, but he and I have some mutual friends. All of them speak very highly of him as a promoter and a person. And so Titan FC comes in, and Roy Babcock is your opponent. And Roy at this time is 7-1, and he's on the UFC short list. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah. I like Roy. He was pretty cool afterward.
Something strange happened during that bout?
Yeah, so I knocked him out on the ground. It was like a body hit, and then his hands were just up, waving like that. And you know, I saw a punch. I'm like, ref, he's out. The ref looks over at him. He's like, keep going. And then I'm like, he's out. And he's like, keep going. So I was like, so that's one of those ones where I'm like, I'm sorry. And then the bell, yeah.
Who was the ref?
Chris, you saw the ref and the fighter having an argument about the opponent while the person underneath them is completely just it's like a murder scene. Like, you could have just chalked an outline of the guy, and the referee's saying no, one more. It's like he owed the ref money or something.
Maybe the ref didn't like him. That's what it was. I bet the ref didn't like that dude. Get him, man. He ain't done.
UFC 2 veteran Fred Eddish here, and you're listening to the Lights Out podcast.
It's so crazy that there's about 700 comments on YouTube on that video, all of them going, dude, this referee needs to be like banned forever. Like everybody.
That's old school refereeing back like in 2000. They just didn't know what was going on. They're like, yeah, he's like a karate guy, but hit him. I was like, no, please stop. I remember I was at a fight once, and like they had a karate guy doing it. I'm just watching. I start to climb over the cage, and finally the guy stops it. And I was like, hey, man, why don't you take a break? I'll referee this next one. I just never let him back in there because like, he's going to get somebody. I wasn't even that. You didn't even need credentials or anything back then. I just refereed. It was hilarious, but that was, yeah, that's what that sounds like.
That's awesome.
It's pretty crazy. It's an experience, that's for sure.
What was the conversations like with the commission afterward? I mean, it was a very controversial thing. It actually made all of the MMA news rounds and stuff. It was like it actually was a very good promo piece for that of yourself.
I know that they I didn't really talk much to the commission. I talked to Roy and then his corner. I know Roy's like, oh, it's fine, but it is what it is. I know the corner, thanked me like, hey man, thanks for doing the right thing. And then I know that I got a couple people that hated on me, but like, why do you stop? You gotta keep going until the ref stops it. I was like, guy was out. I'm in there to make myself better and stronger, not to like damage the guy. I mean, I'm there to beat him, but I don't want to ruin like his life or take it to that extreme.
Yeah,
dude, you're not trying to catch a case. Like I'm not. I ain't trying to get locked up. That's the way I looked at it. And Roy never fought after that. I might add, that was his last fight.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Retired.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, that is sad. That is sad. And like when we look at people's records, there's certain like telltale signs like that you got to look for. Like we had Sam Albion, and he had about 15 opponents that never fought again after he fought them. And it's like, that's somebody that's got change your life power, and that's what happened to, I mean, you're looking at a guy 7-1 with Roy. That was it. Like he called it a day. Like that's.
Hey, I'm glad he did that. You know what I mean? Because too many people take too much damage and have problems. Like you need to know when to say when. I think, and some people just don't.
So truthfully, I feel like it. I feel like it makes it even better to know when to stop, because I feel like your mind's in it more than just going berserk mode and then just just keep hitting them. I don't know. It's like even training wise, like pulling your punches when you need to instead of just teeing off. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. The more experience you get, the better you are at work when people are sparring. Like I can spar with anybody. I've been doing this for 25 years. I mean, you should be good enough to go with the best guy in the gym or the worst. Yeah. It's not about me going out there and trying to hit somebody as hard as I can who's been in there for 2 weeks. That's stupid. That doesn't help anybody out, man. I'm supposed to be a professional and understand how to work with everybody, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're undefeated. You beat Will Shutt, who's journeyman, fought for BKFC, but at this point, Will had a winning record. You beat Adam Ryder by triangle. Like you're finishing everybody. And then Mike Brown pulls off of his fight on a UFC card against Estevan Payan, and you get the call. What was that like? What was getting a call like?
So it's very exciting, but mind you, at this time, I wasn't ready for it. So it's a sort of thing that my manager was like, hey, can you make weight? And then I was making 145, and I was like, well, 180.
Oh,
yeah. So I had to like a 2 weeks. Yeah. So getting the news was exciting and awesome. I'm like, are you for real? I mean, all right, yeah. And then like during those 2 weeks, though, I think it was 13 days I had.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. It was tough. It was very exhausting. I want to say probably one of the hardest mental battles I had to deal with, because I'm a fat kid at heart. I love to eat.
So we got a non-wrestler cutting about 35,
35 pounds.
30 pounds to get down. So that like a wrestler's been trained to kind of cut weight and deal with things mentally. It's even harder for a non-wrestler to deal with.
Yeah, it is awful. Lots of salad. I have nightmares still.
Man.
So I remember just days where like I'm burning so many more calories than what I'm intaking just to get it off me. Just drinking water and then just cutting that water out kills me. But I don't know.
Did you have much? I mean, it was that obviously that's probably the most you'd ever cut at one time. But I mean, usually making 45, was that pretty tough for you, or was that not too bad for you usually?
It was tough because like I said, I let my weight get too high up, and then usually it takes me about 8 weeks to actually
Yeah.
to wring myself off of the food, the snacks, and
Do you still blow up quite a bit after a fight?
yeah. Yeah.
A little bit of that Patty Pemberton
Yeah,
thing.
man. It's that Big Mac, man. You can't
And
get enough of that
McDonald's. Go back to McDonald's.
That hamburger.
McDonald's had me at hello, very beginning.
You can them to sponsor me, man. McDonald's.
Yeah.
You're loving it.
He's working it hard. All right. So you get the call, you fight Estevan Payan. Estevan can be a little animated at weigh-ins. Was there any issues with you two?
No, I mean there was nothing during the weigh-ins or the post fight. We just got in and got out.
So it's a perfect matchup. You got a guy that's not real technical in his opponent, but takes one to give one. And Alex has got a technical ability, but he likes to brawl instead. So you got two guys that like to brawl. It's a fantastic matchup. Why don't you bring us through what took place?
All right. So it was actually that fight. I probably did like 20 back fists. That just because a buddy of mine said, "Oh, hey, he's reaching the back fist. You don't see them coming." So he got that in my mind. So I probably look like a tornado out there. I don't know. But I just I remember just going out there. You know, it's a surreal feeling, and the crowd, the cameras. I guess just that type of environment was new to me, and I guess I try to do one. I guess one of those things where you just try to black the crowd out, just you in the ring along with a guy. It helped kind of, and just pumping myself up. You know, like if he does this, I gotta do that, and during the fight, I didn't feel like I was in danger at all, really. I think what he hit me once. I felt. Other than that, I was fine.
So Chris, on the way to the ring, they kind of like Chris and I have done hundreds of play-by-play commentary before together. So we always kind of have our rhythm, and the UFC has their rhythm. They mention that Alex wins the 2009 ringside like boxing tournament, and Rogan starts like shitting on it. Like, well, I don't think he was aware of the prestige behind that. It's because boxing's so fragmented that a lot of people don't understand what the big tournaments are. And in 2009, the ringside tournament was very big, and he was kind of dumping on it. And by the end of the fight, Rogan's singing your praises.
What was it? Was it Rogan that came in the ring afterwards?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was kind of starstruck because I'm like, dude, you're from Fear Factor, man. He's like, yeah, that's me.
I assumed you didn't know who Joe Rogan was.
Yeah.
I knew him from Fear Factor.
Okay, yeah, not from MMA. That's right. Didn't his opponent that Estevan, didn't he do a couple of that bare knuckles or not? Or is that a different guy I'm thinking of?
Estevan Payan?
He did.
Ooh.
Did he? Did he do some bare knuckle or not?
I think Miguel.
I could have swore he did.
I thought he fought on that other organization that didn't pay anybody, but maybe not. Like,
Yeah, carry on, boys. I'll look it up.
I think that first one they put on, like Chris Lee and everybody fought and it didn't pay anybody. They ripped everybody off. So
I think that Boss Rutan attached his name to it.
yeah,
that
well, he got a bad rap. He had nothing. He was just going to commentate for it, and the guy said, "Hey, you'll be the president." He's like, all right, he didn't know what was going on, but he got a bad rap. He didn't deserve for that.
All right. So
Hey,
Alex,
I didn't know who Bass Rutan is. My dad gave me some DVDs after I joined MMA. He gave me
Nice.
some DVDs. I remember this like chokehold where he just sticks the fist in the neck. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
Boss was a man for back in the day. It was awesome.
so Alex, part of your Wikipedia says that you were homeless at one point.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a Camaro, as a T-top Camaro, and that was during the time when I was training at the gym. My mom kicked me out because she's like, I'm not going to have you in this house where you're going to drive that thing and kill yourself. So she ended up kicking me out, and I actually lived with the next door neighbor. He had a little, you know, those Kempo shells you stick on the back of a truck? I actually lived in those for a couple months.
You mean like a shed?
It's basically a shed, but I mean, it's a little Kempo shell. It's got a little bed, a table, and
Yeah, you're good.
yeah, I made it work.
So you lived there for a couple months. Does it even have electricity?
I hooked an extension cord to the neighbor's house.
Hey, boom. Got it. Resourceful.
That's high living. So you either charge your phone or watch TV.
Yeah. I was living the dream, kinda. But laundry was an issue though. No room for a washer or dryer.
Hey, I got a quick update for you, Chris. Sharper than ever, obviously. We got Estevan Payan fighting in the very first BKFC, and he also fought another bare knuckle for that other organization as well. So right on, he did do bare knuckle a couple times. He also did about 10 pro boxing matches that it looked like he crossed over to be a journeyman over there.
Okay, cool. I thought I remember that name. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good for you, Chris. Jesus. All right. So, Alex, when you're walking to the cage, what's the mantra or what are you saying in your head?
Truthfully, it's the crowd. I'm just surprised by the crowd. You know, like not to trip and fall. Sometimes I'm bad about that, especially with the codes being in the way. You got the cameraman like, come on. You know, they want me to do a little shadow boxing. I'm like, okay. And then the guy, you know, give the crowd some high fives, and I guess I really don't start thinking about it till I get in the ring.
So it's funny, they got some bright lights too. You don't want to look right at him. You're like, get that bright light on my face sometimes.
Yeah, you'll see the sun spots.
Because when you walk towards the ring, I don't want to offend here. Okay, so I spent 15 years in law enforcement. You kind of look like a mental patient, like you want to murder somebody. Like you really like the look in your face and your eyes. It's like the wheels are turning, but it's not like everybody else.
Yeah, so in the back, I try to get my mind set. It's me and that guy, and then I try to keep that focus until I get in the ring. You know.
Okay. All right. So Chris, dude, Estevan Payan, they won fight of the night. Like, dude, got a big ass check cut. You know, it's something that you're used to getting, and he knocks Payan down and keeps pounding on him. The referee jumps in. Payan, to his credit, jumps up right away, and you didn't celebrate. You were just like, well, okay, we can go.
Yeah, so I thought he might continue. I'm like, hey, that doesn't count. Let's continue this. I'm like, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. The referee says, hey, bro, you got to move. Like, we're not escalating here. You got to go. Alex walks over to like where the door is, and is still looking at the guy like, we can go. Like you weren't finished.
So, like I said, I didn't really watch. Like then, I don't know all the rules, right? And
Oh my
so
God.
it's one of those like, are we going to continue this or like, is it done? I don't know. So
The audience,
during this
let the
time, I'm
audience
trying to keep
decide.
my mindset instead of just letting it like go off in the wind, right?
Yeah,
then,
you
like,
didn't want to break yet. You're like, no,
Mike,
it's not
Mike,
over.
they haven't restarted a fight since UFC Japan when they let Sakuraba fight again. Remember they stopped it? Okay, you can restart again. He won. So
Yeah, against
I'm
Conan
that
Silveira.
guy.
yeah, that's exactly. You know it. Okay. It happened.
Yeah, he wasn't done. Like I was just like, so when I'm studying Alex, I'm looking at this and I'm like, holy fuck, this guy's got problems. Like he's not even. It's his UFC debut. He just knocked the guy out. He probably just got fight of the night, and he still wants to fight the guy. Like he's not over.
He got dialed in. His mission was to fight that guy. He was still in the mode, Mike. You got to understand. He wasn't done.
Yeah. You were a plus 130 dog, so you came in short notice fight against a guy that needed a win to stay there. So when a guy's 0-2 in the UFC, you know you're going to get his best fight on his third fight because he wants to stay. So it's a very dangerous spot to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. There was the hype man. They got rid of him. Was it Burt?
Burt, we rolling, baby.
Yeah, man. He's a hype man. He's like, it's easy to get in the UFC. It's harder to stay. But he was man, dude. I missed him.
I love Burt.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And your second fight was against Lucas Martins, the El Manero from Shootbox. He was 14-1. You come in as a favorite. It's the first time ever you get stopped in a fight. Where do you think the disconnect was in regards to your performance, if you had to guess?
I know I kept going straight into his punches. I think like after that first round, my coach was like, hey, you gotta use your angles, you gotta get in a different way instead of coming straight into him. Because I mean I took a lot of hits that fight. And I mean
it was almost as if the UFC jitters hit you on the second fight rather than the first.
I mean, to me, like I feel like it's the same. I mean, it's like the same feeling I get for every fight. I guess it's the staying an undefeated fighter for your friends, for the gym, for everybody that you know that kind of looks up to you. Like, hey man, you're still undefeated. That's amazing. Keep it up. I mean, I guess like I get those jitters, and sometimes they do intervene. But so sometimes it's for the best, and other times it kind of holds you back.
What about your coach, Joe Worden? What was your relationship like with him at this time?
So family. It's actually because of him. Like, I am I got to where I was from him because there's times like when I was homeless, he would come pick me up, take me to the gym, and take me back home. You know, he done that for a while. And then he's like, if I'm down and out or I can't afford to go to a tournament, like the boxing tournament, the Ringside World Tournament, that's because him and his wife.
Man, that's awesome.
That's why you're so loyal to him, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, he refuses to move.
Good. Good.
Alex, have you been tempted by bigger gyms to kind of come over and train with them?
So he actually, my coach encourages me to go to other gyms. He's fine with me getting other coaches. I always bring Joe along every fight. That doesn't matter if he's the main coach or if he's like the second coach. You know, he's been there since day one for me, and I'm gonna have him with me till probably the end. You know, I know like this last UFC fight I had. I went to Genesis MMA up in Colorado. Jake was my coach there. Went there for 3 months. I had both of him and then John Duvall to coach me for that fight, which was my last fight.
Yeah, you're incredibly loyal, Tim. All right, you picked up a manager named Kyle Stoltz as well at one point.
Yeah, he picked me up from Charles McCarthy because that was around the time the Reebok deal, and like there was no more sponsors that you could have. And so Charles lost his PR guy because of that. And then that was around the time when the contract was ending. And then that's when Kyle was talking to me. And then so I went with Kyle, and he seemed like a pretty good guy. I know I went out to California for about a month whenever he lived out there, trained at the Muscle Farm. Went to Daniel Manley's house. He had it.
Jason Manley?
Yeah, Jason Manley. He's a pretty cool guy. And then the body shop.
Okay, I got 2 questions. Kyle Stoltz. Chris, he was arrested, I want to say about a year ago, trying to pick up a 13-year-old over the internet, ended up doing time for it.
So that's wrong? Is that what you're saying?
Well, in this country, you can have some issues with that.
Hey, that's a big problem for me, man. Yeah, I'd have a big problem with that.
It's kind of one of those. Did you talk to him after his arrest?
So I actually didn't know that. He still has not talked to me about any of this. So I messaged him probably beginning of the year. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get some fights. I kind of want to get back up in the big leagues again. Nothing. And I want to say it was for a couple months, my strength conditioning coach, Derek Taylor, he told me what happened. I'm like, no way, there ain't no way. For real? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, well, that's why he didn't contact me, and I'm not cool with that either. So I'm actually kind of trying to look for a manager now.
Yeah. So Chris, we have this podcast to rehash stories and talk about, like, obviously I've never fought in the UFC, so I like to talk to people about their experience there. But I've also never had to field a phone call with what had happened was, and then some sexual predator arrest. I was hoping the conversation took place, to be honest with you. I've never heard anybody walk me through one of those.
That'd be a bad one. So
yeah, he was married too, wasn't he?
No, I don't know. That I know of, he was single. That I know of. Like I said, I went. That was back in 2019. No, 2018. 2018 when I went to California.
I want to say 2016. I get a phone call out of the blue. Hey man, I just want to kind of help you out. I do some local promotions here in the Chicagoland area. So I get these guys, they're usually just jerk offs calling me, just wasting mine and everybody else's time. But this guy was persistent. He comes to my first event just to kind of help out, build the cage, tear down the cage. At intermission, the first fight he's ever been to in his entire life, he comes over to me and he says, all right, I'm managing about 6 guys on this card right now. You have to negotiate with me from now on rather than them. And I'm like, I just invited you to my event, and then you're telling me I can't talk to my own fighters and their coaches? That's right, dude. I had him throw him out of literally had him thrown out of my event. Get the fuck out of here. He's just, I don't know. I mean, but he did well for himself. He wound up with Hayabusa. I think he was matchmaking for Freedom Fights, and he had vanzant as one of his clients.
Yeah. Yeah, he talked about Paige all the time because that's one of his bigger fighters.
Yeah, weird, dude. I remember. I'm like, this guy's managing Paige vanzant. I had security throw him out of my event. Fucking nuts, man. So you're in the UFC. They put you in against the youngest fighter on their roster, somebody that's a silver gloves champion, gold gloves champion, and junior Olympic champion, fighting out of the pit, Cassius Clay Collard. I think you won that fight. Like, I watched it, It's close, but I honestly thought you won the fight, man. I don't know why.
I feel like that's one of those and what fights. Like it's either way. You know what I'm saying? I think it was for the Clay Collar that I got cut on.
That's right. Yeah.
What was it, him or was it Tony?
I think he was Clay Collard.
So it's Clay Collar. I was actually being overprotective because the night was the night before weigh-ins.
Yeah, it might have been the night. Yeah, or it was,
Yeah,
it was the night before you had to make weight.
Yeah, it was the night before I had to make weight. I was just doing a simple drill, a pass, and Austin Knight, he was the guy I was training with at the time. He'll feel like crap.
He'll feel so.
But he didn't do nothing wrong. But so I did a sweep and I brought his knee over and it just grazed my eye, right? And so I'm like, all right, let's do it again. And then he looked at me, he's like, oh shit. I'm like, what? And by that time I'm like, the blood.
He felt bad.
So yeah, he did.
He felt bad.
So my above my eyebrow was like it was bad. So we had to get a hold of the manager, to get a hold of, I guess, one of the main guys for the UFC, but they ended up telling Dana, and Dana was pissed because he thought I was going to be pulling out. I'm like, well, if they can sew this up, make it look like it's didn't happen, I'm fine. I'll fight. So we went to a doctor's. It was like 3 a.m. We got to a doctor. He did like inside sutures, and the next day we weighed in, and Dana was just staring me down, man. I'm like, I'm sorry, Dana.
I mean, yeah,
I'm proud of that. I think he'd be happy.
Yeah, well, he was, but I mean, he was mad that it happened. He probably thought I was training too hard, going live or something, which really it was just a simple drill. But I was overprotective of the eye because if I was to get punched, it'd just splatter, and they'd probably end up stopping the fight because of the blood in the eye. So I was overprotective of that.
Yeah, it happens.
Hey, I hate to do this. I got to get out of here, fellas. Alex, Kelly, like I say, nice to meet you guys. Sorry I have to take off, but I guess got limit. So thank you for your time, and Mike, carry on. I'll see you guys.
We
later.
got you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wait, hold up, guys. We're gonna keep going. Love you, Chris. Thanks, buddy. All right, so we're gonna get through UFC career. Do you got time, Alex? You good?
Yeah.
Let's knock these out, dude. All right. So Cassius Clay Collard, dude, you guys were throwing fastballs. The thing with Collard is that he's 21 years old, but he's a friggin' dog. He's a dog, bro. So like every single time like he got him finished, he's actually kind of crouched down, putting air in his body, and then just throwing a hard fastball. Like he's a super dangerous guy. Look at his record. He's fought a ton of tough people.
Yeah. I mean, that was a tough fight. I felt like the being overprotective of the eye kind of slowed me down.
How did you guys not get fight of the night for that?
I felt like there was. I think there's one other time where I'm like, man, that was probably close. I was the Edmonton fight with the elbow after elbow after elbow. I'm like, man, that's the most consecutive elbows ever, I think.
Did they talk to you about a fight of the night on that, or did they just kind of?
No.
No, sometimes they give it to
It's meant for the main card, They usually give it to the main card.
That sucks. I mean, it's friggin' phenomenal fight. You were supposed to fight a guy from the Philippines, Mark Ediva, but you were injured. What happened there?
I think that might have been when I either broke my hand. So I broke my hand one time again, and then I also torn cartilage in my rib.
All right. Who were you dealing with at the UFC at this point?
I think it was Sean Shelby was my matchmaker.
Was he pissed off at you?
Truthfully, I don't know. There's the manager that took care of all of that. So okay. I don't know what was his comments or whatnot.
because you were off over an entire year at that. So a lot of times when they punish people, they extend their contracts and just kind of dump on them that way. And they put you up against Artem Lobov, which on paper, like, it's got fireworks written all over it.
Yeah, he's a mounting son of a gun. I mean, I'm like, I mean, we're on Instagram, you know, like, he's pretty chill on Instagram. Like, but we said a couple of things to each other before, and I mean, he was pretty chill. But like during that fight, he's being Conor McGregor Jr., you know, just mouthing, trying to sell the show. But, you know, like, that's the thing, you know, like, I was bullied back in the day. I'm not going to get bullied now, you know. So I want to say, like, almost every day for that fight, I went live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Every day for that fight, you're what?
And so to get ready for that fight, almost every day I was going live.
Just to read what he was saying.
Oh, yeah, that's the crap that he was talking.
He was super disrespectful.
Yeah, super disrespectful, talking all kinds of shit. So, you know,
It's kind of
what do you
motivated.
do? If you're gonna talk shit, you better be prepared to eat shit.
All right. So I've watched your entire career up until this point, the fights that I could find. This appears to me to be the first fight you ever had that you followed a game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that, I don't know. I guess that, to me, like, with all that crap talking, I guess that, like, I feel like he was trying to make me feel who I was in the past, and I'm over that. I'm above that, and I'm not gonna settle for that.
Well, he said that
So-
after on his way to the UFC that he got in the easy way,
Oh yeah, Uncle Dana, he said.
but he got it his way through comment. I didn't understand the comments. It really
Yeah.
was upsetting.
Yeah, he said that Dana was like, what, my dad or my uncle
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
That's
it
how I
was
got
super,
it.
just disrespectful, and he made fun of our small hometown and stuff. So it was personal investment.
So at this point, are you like a hero walking around the streets of your hometown?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about hero, but I mean, those people that do look up to me, because in our small town, there's only a couple of people that's done anything, and I guess some of them don't even claim that as the town anymore. So I mean, I'm your average Joe that's walking around. That's like, hey, that's that guy. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, that's cool. You
That's
guys
all
also got like a kicker from the New England Patriots that won a Super Bowl ring from your hometown.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Kyle Richardson.
And then I know there's also a basketball player, Chris Cole. Right? It's Chris Cole from Ironton.
I'm not a big basketball guy.
Do you guys kind of all, the athletes all know each other then? Like, do you ever run into these people? Was it such a small town?
I don't know those people.
Are you the only one that went back there? Everybody else kind of left and never came back?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
That's cool. That's cool. So you beat Lobov. I obviously, I mean, we got Tony Martin was another future fight. I thought that could have been fight of the night as well. Tony was kind of a grinder. He actually just got arrested. He had a domestic issue right before Christmas. It sucks. You know, I don't like, I know we sit here and we talk about promoters that rip people off and things like that, but dude, when somebody's got some personal problems like that, I don't find joy in that shit at all. Like that James Krause, your situation. I mean, you guys fought right after that.
Man, I know he had top control, but you know, like I thought I was beating him from bottom. I don't know if that counted or not, but it is what it is. I got no problems with James. I thought he's a pretty cool guy. Before, I trained with him before, and I've trained with him after.
Well, if you really look at like the instances involving him, you got to really read between the lines. So instead of like the salacious headlines or like some jerk off talking head that's got no idea, no context in real MMA world, they'll like read other people's stuff or look at other people's videos, and then they'll come up with something even crazier to describe the same thing without actually ever talking to anybody involved. So if you look at like between the lines, James Krause isn't fixing fights. James Krause did not fix a fight. Now, the fighter and his other people, they may have done some stuff, but to say James is involved isn't true. And you know it's not, because he turned over all of his equipment without needing a search warrant or anything like that to the feds. He's just like, no, brother, here it is. Take a look at it. Right there, it tells you he's not involved. And
I
like,
can't tell me what they did to him, but
yeah,
him and his fighters. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So like them saying he's under investigation, he can't really operate his business, dude, that sucks.
Yeah,
that sucks. And by them, like the new headline is, he was working with offshore like gambling facilities. Well, here, let's go to Colby Covington's Instagram. Let's go to Joanna's Instagram. Anybody that they were advertising using a promo code, that's an offshore book that was sending them money. So it's like they used like MoneyGram. They used, you know, it's like, that's not like they're not stuffing dollar bills and like stuffed animals and sending it to Costa Rica. No, they're getting a promo code and a kickback for everybody that loses using your promo code. So Chael Sonnen, what he's guilty of is what everybody else is doing or has done. So I feel bad for the guy, man. I honestly do. It's wrong what's taken. And they're going to get him on tax issues. They're going to get it guilty on tax issues, but nothing in regards to him fixing a fight. Guaranteed.
I mean, he's a good guy. Like I said, he's a good guy. I've trained with him before and after. I don't know what all went down. I don't really read up on that kind of stuff anyways. But as a person, you know, he's a good guy.
Well, I appreciate you clearing that up too. I didn't know what was going on, and you just totally cleared the air, and I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, but dude, that's just reality. And you know, man, shit happens. This fight, how many scumbags have we all had to deal with or look in the eye and actually do business with at one point or another? It's part of the game, and it's life. You don't deal with everybody that's a good person. That's life, you know? I like James. I got no problem with the guy. But dude, this is about you. I just went on like a 10-minute tangent. Here, let's wind up with Dan Morett. Another fantastic fight, a win for you. Morett, when you watch the opening stanza, the opening exchange, Morett lands a running punch that has every single ounce of like pressure and strength that he could ever muster up, and it lands. Are you aware of
glass jaw? My mama didn't raise someone with a glass jaw.
That's crazy. And it's like he had to understand at that point, man, like that Ben Askren, you know, Masvidal knee that landed. He landed it, and it didn't bother you.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's the heart. I don't know. Like Stallone said, it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic, bro. Again, it's like it's something that you should be very proud of, like that performance. And any words on fight of the night there either?
No.
I think it was in the first round. Alex got taken down right in front of the corner, right in front of me, and I seen Dan land an elbow, and I saw the blood squirt like a fountain, and I knew that was not good. I honestly thought they may stop the fight at that point.
Kelly, you gave him fantastic advice. Like, the one thing that I got to say about you is the entire time, like in your corners, even the UFC commentators, dude, you guys are from like you call it a chunk of Missouri. Everybody else is kind of looking at you out of the side of their eyes and laughing because they're from some, 9 million plus populated city. And the advice you were getting in your corner, spot on. And all of the announcers, Dominic Cruz, dude, he's a prick when it comes to like talking about corners and fights. Even he was dishing out compliments. That's as high as you're going to get.
I will take it. I think just knowing Alex as a person really helps cornering guys. If you know people, you train with them, you know what they got and what they're capable of. You know what you need to tell them to keep them in the fight. And I just tried to do that for him as best I could.
Do you remember your advice to him? Do you remember your advice to him in between the first and second round?
Honestly, not off the top of my head. I can't really recall.
You said, dude, your cut is nasty. If you want to win this fight, you better get it this round. Like you pretty much told him, and it was spot on. Like the fight went all 3 rounds, but the advice you gave was, hey, brother, you better fight with some urgency. I don't care what took place there. They're calling this fight because of that cut. That's what you told her.
That's all I wanted to do is just get a little bit of sense of urgency, light a little bit of fire. So I know what he's capable of. I know once his combinations start flowing, he's hard to deal with. Once he's in the fight, like you said, it takes a little bit for him. But once he's in there, I believe he can hang with anyone in the world, top 10 guys especially. I think he could.
You know, Kelly, and like I said, I'm not in the gym. I'm not an MMA. I'm not obviously an MMA fighter, clearly. But like if there was little things that you had to kind of pick apart on Alex, hand speed and a little bit of looping punches. Like it's almost – and like in your fight with the Brazilian cat, Martins, you were kind of coming in with your chin up. They were like habits that you never had before, but you kind of picked up for that fight.
Yeah. So the game plan was for him to wrestle. He was supposed to take Martins down. The game plan was to use his ability to close the distance quick, use his punches to disguise it, get him down. But he got caught up in that firefight in that fight, and
it's a pissing contest.
And he got stuck in it, and it was exciting, but it was not what we had planned to do.
Yeah, I can see that, Alex. Like you kind of you try to beat somebody at their own game.
Yeah, he damn near did.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely a difficult fight. You end your UFC career with Fiziev, with Raphael Fiziev, who is in contention for the title right now at 155. You also changed weight classes and stayed there at 55.
Yeah, I feel like 145, man, like it was like the death of me. Like I felt like I didn't have as much energy as I did at 155.
Yeah, 6 foot tall, 145. That's not an easy. And you got a lot of muscle on you. That's a hard weight to maintain.
I my amateur fight, there's 155 or higher, and then I want to say the last amateur fight might have been at 145.
I think so. I think it might have been.
Yeah, and then my pros all the way to what 9?
Yeah,
9. Well, no,
12,
10. No,
well, you fought a 45 to the Canadian cat you fought.
Yeah,
right?
so I almost said like around 12 fights was at 145, and then I just had to go up. The weight cut was too much.
So Fiziev, I mean, you had a good run in the UFC. I was actually surprised that they released you after that fight because you were about 500 in your last 4 fights. Usually they'll extend a contract to you. What was the conversation like with them?
There wasn't no conversation. It was, I think they actually offered me a short notice fight, and there's no way for me to take it, and then they kind of just cut me.
Okay. Yeah, because you were filling in a bunch of fights for them last minute, and usually, like when you do something like that, you're kind of owed a favor. I'm not sure they ever gave you your favor. They just kept asking for that last minute type of, that type of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like you said earlier, after you're on a 2-loss streak, on that next one, it's do or die time. And I wasn't able to really showcase what I've learned in that fight, which kind of sucks because I was in Colorado for 3.5 months, and I learned a lot. Trained with a lot of good guys, amazing guys, and it's just like I wasn't able to showcase it just because he's a stud guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude, you're
yeah.
talking. He's arguably like Justin Gaethje won't fight him, and you're talking about a guy that's probably top 3 in the world, and and you're a brawler, and he's a technique guy. Like, in my opinion, like if you're an organization, you want to see fight of the night on a regional organization, you and Jason Knight clashing at a main event, dude, I would purchase that to watch it at home. Like, that's got fight of the night written all over it. You got 2 guys that are technical, but have maybe some slight issues with guys that are super technical and all technique and speed. But you guys like to get down and dirty. You bring your lunch to work. Those are the type of fighters you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fuck yeah. That's what I mean. That's what we're fans of. So your last fight, 70 pounds, and we're closing out right now.
Hold on 1 second. Let me jump in really quick because you got cut by the UFC and you got Fiziev. That was 2019, and it looks like you said you understand, but you took a few years off and came back in 2002. What was the layoff for?
So I was gonna take a year off, but I ended up getting into a vehicle accident that ripped and tore my back muscle all the way to my neck muscle. So just getting back into shape and doing rehab from that. Well, it was tough.
How do you feel physically now?
I'm better now. I know I got some bulging disc in my lower back, so I have to work on my core to make up for so I don't use that lower back as much. But I'm alive. I'm kicking it.
Was the accident your fault or their fault?
The wreck? No, I was in the passenger seat. I was almost ejected. But the only thing that kept me in was my legs being pinned up against the door and then dash. Yeah, like this skull, I was impelled by a tree branch.
Yeah. What the fuck were you doing?
So we was coming home. Well, me and my buddy was coming home from a float trip, and he was just driving too fast on the back road, and we flew off a 5-foot embankment through a couple of trees.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he was trying to drift around the corners, and well, he wasn't the best, obviously.
Holy shit. That's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
What about mom? Mom throws you out of the house because she doesn't want you racing a car too fast, and you're on pay-per-view with the UFC. Does she ever kind of come around to this, or is she kind of?
No, she's kind of talks light about it, only if I ever bring it up, And I don't try to guilt trip her or anything, so I don't really bring it up much. But I think it's only been brought up once, and she's like, "No, I'd never do that." I'm like, "You did do that," and then like she still asked me to take him to doctor appointments and all that, and well. They're my parents, so I still took them to the doctor appointments.
Yeah. What about you fighting? Was she a fan of it or against it?
No, she is for it. No, she's like, well, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Did she come and watch?
No, due to health reasons, she can't.
Okay.
I know my dad was kind of worried about me, and he grew to like it, and he came to several of my fights.
That's good. That's good. Well, Alex, you're an absolute gentleman. We sincerely appreciate your time. We try to do these little MMA history podcasts in regards to like just preserving history from the fighter's point of view. And Kelly contacted us a few weeks ago, and I know we kind of missed a few times, but man, we put it together. And Kelly, sincerely appreciate your help as well, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
It was an absolute pleasure. I'm glad I got to come on and talk to you guys, man. You guys are great. I love Bobo. I love Bodog. It was a great show. I enjoyed it. So I'm glad I got to talk to him a little bit as well. Miguel, that's great, man. I appreciate you. Mike, you're the best, man. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Miguel, Bodog.
Yeah, it's I think it's for the hardcore fans to look back at, and Kelly, you certainly qualify. So thank you very much, brother.
No problem, man. We had a teammate. Well, he was kind of a coach. Steve Berger fought for you, so that drew
Dude.
my eyes to it, and it was just awesome, man. Yeah, it was a great show. I loved watching the fights on there. They're always competitive.
So Steve Berger, did you listen to our interview with him?
You guys interviewed Steve?
Dude, he gets in an argument with his wife at the end. Like he's like hiding. He's hiding in like the closet, like the clothes closet, and she's like, "Will you come to bed?" And he's like, "Hey, this is important." We were like 3 hours in.
That is hilarious. Yeah, Steve's a good dude, man. I like it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Be good, man. Miguel, sometimes we get that one. How
wait,
cool
hold
was Alex White?
Alex White is in the books. I had to say it.
Okay. All right. When you and I talked before, we both obviously knew Alex White was, but when I said, man, I'm looking at this guy's story, it's actually really cool. How could you not walk away from that saying, man, I really like that guy?
Yeah, I think that's one of those unsung hero guys. I think that he's a guy that the UFC would be like, he's from Missouri. Maybe he's got a little speech impediment. We can't make a star out of him. And I think I disagree. I think the sport ability should take over, and him with a little nurturing looks like he had a lot of natural ability and didn't get nurtured. So I think it is a fascinating story, and I like the kid. The kid, he's a real down to earth guy. And I say kid, he's a man, obviously, but I'm getting old, so he still has, that youth aura where he still has innocence about him, where he wasn't used to being interviewed and stuff. I think, he pulled off a great interview here because I got to know Alex White. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's feel good. So like we get the Mark Colemans where they're hardcore talking about crazy stuff. We get the Ian Heiniches that just their life is just needs to be made in a movie because it's so unbelievable. And then we get these feel good stories like Jason Knight, feel good story, Alex White, feel good story, and Kelly Burch really helped line this up. He's one of the coaches at the gym he works out with, and I'm really glad he sat in. I think it helped. It helped somebody that's not comfortable doing interviews feel a little bit more at ease because he had somebody next to him, and I thought that was a good touch. Good touch.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's a case where the kid, he's got a speech impediment. He goes over it in the very first part of the interview, the accident that caused it from when he was 6 years old. So he's lived his whole life with that. Hasn't really done interviews and stuff. And Kelly's presence made him comfortable. And I think the feather in our cap comes with the post interview text that you got, which was, Alex thanking you. He never had so much fun in an interview, and he had a great time, and he was grateful. So I think that's what it is. Just let them talk.
His first podcast, we broke Alex's cherry.
All right, even better, man. But he's been in front of UFC mics and stuff. Yeah. And again, nobody there, said, "Oh, let's keep an eye on this kid." They let him go by the wayside, and after this interview, you just kind of got to wonder what would have been. Hopefully gets another shot at some of the big shows. He still has some age and fights left in him, he says. So we'll hopefully it goes well. And him and Jason Knight are outrageous.
Isn't that a shame though when you got somebody like this and you gotta, everybody home, you gotta remember he is not comfortable giving long talks or sitting in front of a camera because his entire life he's been a little self-conscious about his issue. He just sat with us for 2 hours and we had a really good time. Everybody's accepting of what's going on there. And I thought he came across very clear about 95% of the interview. Now, for the UFC not to recognize that, wait a minute, not only is his fighting style friggin' like really fun and exciting, which, all right, is he ever going to win a world title? Maybe, maybe not, depending on who you put him up against. But you can get a fight of the night every single time that guy's on a card, as long as you match him properly. And his ability to take a punch and not get concussed, it tells you he's probably got a thick skull and he's willing to, earn his money the hard way. But for them not to recognize that, it kind of like it makes our job easy, to be honest with you. It makes it easier for us.
You don't know all the issues and everything, but you do, looking back at the history of it, you do get left with, what might have been in some cases, you know what I mean? And, the UFC's got a 700-man roster, and they're not going to make stars out of everybody. I'm not saying that, AlexWhite is going to make people forget Conor McGregor, but I think, he
can move a needle. He can move a fight night needle.
Yeah, his athletic ability is interesting enough. Hey, he might beat McGregor. If you gave him the shot, they never would, right? But that's the nature of the sport. I mean, the bottom line is the athletic abilities should speak for himself. And what he just showed us in this 2-hour interview means that the kid had some depth. It's not just some kid who can't talk and he's not good on camera and that's it. That's how they decide things. Hey, get to the bottom of it, make him comfortable, and he'll weave a little story and he'll get into it. And they can't give everybody a shot, but sometimes with the guys that got left behind, it hits you,
Yeah. So February 24th, Ignite FC returns to Burr Ridge, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. We're at Compass Arena. We've got like 3 title fights. I'm going to be doing commentary for it. I think Miguel, you're in talks with a big organization. Are you willing to talk about that?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's coming or going yet. I'm trying to get the website updated, and I think things are going well. The new address will have the whole library up probably within the next week or so, but you're starting to see bits and pieces of organization and new look and feel and a little bit of new attitude going into the site, so that we keep growing, hopefully.
So we've narrowed it down to one YouTube page. Everything's going to be on one page. People have been telling us to do that from the beginning, and every single time they've said it, we both responded, well, we've got too much on each side, and now we're just going to bite the bullet and bring it over now before it's way out of control. So everything is on one page right now. Miguel, we also got news that we were in the top 25%. We started with that with Chris Lytle. Top 25% podcast listened to on Buzzsprout, which is a major platform for hosting. So to kind of make it there means that we're at the precipice of a very, very steep hill. And the only way to keep climbing is if, people that are sharing it continue to do so.
Yeah, I got a little bad news for everybody out there. If you previously watched an interview and enjoyed it, it's now required that you go and listen to it again. So
yes,
you gotta do it again and like.
Yeah, I think we're missing some timestamps. We're putting the list together next week. We'll have it, and anybody that helps us with the times.
We're gonna need a week to get all the bells and whistles there, but I think at the end of the day, you're gonna see a real different product in terms of polish. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes. So with the missing timestamps, we're just gonna do a little contest. Free T-shirt for anybody that helps us out when we are ready, finishing updating. So greatly appreciate it, Miguel. That's another one in the books, brother. That's a win. That's a W for us.
AlexWhite is in the books.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.